We're going to bring y'all into our huddle.
Today's Monday, March 17th, 2014, and you are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram, and with me as always, my boy and producer, Scott.
Scott here.
Big win last night, Scotty. You get a chance to watch it?
I did. That was huge. What a great game.
And thank God for it, man. I was slightly panicking after both the Clipper and Cleveland game, but no longer. Yet and still, let's jump in, man. Huge win, just like we've said against Portland last night, so you know we got big things to talk about. In the Warriors update, we will in fact go through that Portland game, and perhaps more importantly, we also had an opportunity to sit down with Rusty Simmons, the guy the SF Chronicle, my go-to paper, has been paying to follow the Warriors over the last 6 years. This dude has more knowledge about the Warriors than probably anyone else we've talked to, and our segment with him went really well.
It was a great chance to talk with him and fired up about it.
Yeah, me too. And it wasn't just a straightforward interview. We also forced him to participate in our degenerate over-under segment where we had him answer things like over-under, how many MVPs will Steph win in his career? 0.5. How many championships are the Warriors going to win under Lacob? 0.5. We won't give away the answers now, but I am looking forward to playing that segment.
Do you want to just recap the rest of the entire interview? People are going to listen to this. I mean,
since you gave us nothing on your initial recap there, I thought I'd add a little bit of meat to this tease. Before we get either to the Portland game or to Rusty, which I'd like to tell you more about, but Scott apparently is taking really hard. Couple of show notes. One, Uber, still my favorite app. If you're looking for a cab, but you don't feel like actually tracking one down to the money to pay for it, press a button and they will come to you. Also, we still got our Huddle promotion code going.
We still have the promotion code. Go to Uber, and when you sign up, if you enter Huddle, you'll get $30 off your first ride.
Perfect. Make sure you get out there and do that. Second show note is that we're going to be changing the normal format of the show. Rusty was so great that we're going to start with his segment, and then once we've gone all the way through that, we'll throw it back to our present selves, and you and I will cover the Portland game. Sound like a plan?
Sounds good.
Bet. Let's turn it over to Rusty and our former selves in the over-under segment. For the first time in Huddle history, we have a guest that's worth crowing about. We're sitting here with Rusty Simmons, the Chronicle beat writer for the Warriors. What's going on, Rusty?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
I'm doing all right. I'm slowly getting over last night's Clipper loss. I took that kind of hard. I'm a little bitter, but hopefully it won't slow us down today. Man, are you deep enough into this and professional enough not to let that affect you, or are you a little angry about last night too?
Now, you know what? On our end, most always we're rooting for something, but it's rarely a win or a loss. We're rooting for a storyline, and when those two teams get together, there are storyline galore. They don't like each other. There's always dust-ups. Now they get into it before the game and after the game, so the result almost doesn't matter from my end, which sounds terrible, but all the other storylines are great.
Apparently you haven't been reading the press clippings, Rusty. These guys aren't rivals. Haven't you heard Mark Jackson talk about? They actually really like each other, I think.
Yeah, that's what they keep telling us. Hey, you know what? I can kind of understand what he's saying. These are two franchises that have been terrible and haven't been in the playoffs and haven't proven anything yet. They're both trying to get to that point, and I think both are definitely headed in that direction. And a guy who grew up in New York like Coach Jackson did knows Yankees-Red Sox rivalries,
yeah,
and played in the Knicks and Pacers rivalries, and knows about the Bulls, and all of those things come up, and he says, well, the Clippers and Warriors can't be rivalry yet. And I think he's right. I understand that, but this thing is definitely headed in that direction.
I respect that, but as a way over-passionate fan, I hate that team. I hated watching them last night, and I refuse to accept that this isn't a huge rivalry. I keep waiting for the Warriors to come out and announce that the Bloods v. Crips wasn't a rivalry either.
That's right. Yeah. That might be next.
It is what it is, but I'm bearing the lead, man. Let's start with you, and let me start with an admission. I am crazy jealous of your job. The idea of traveling with the team, getting to know them. How long have you been doing this?
This is my, 11th year at the Chronicle, and my 6th on the Warriors beat. And you're right, it is a dream job. There are some of those 7 or 6 game road trips where you're away for 2 weeks and you're flying through a bunch of snowy places and getting delayed here and there, where you want to start whining about it. But then at the end of the day, you get to go and get paid to watch a basketball game, and it's the best job in the world. If I thought my editor wasn't going to listen to this, I would say that I would do it for free, but I don't want him to hear that.
This is Scott. I've always wondered, are you writing stories during the game itself, or do you just wait till the game is over and then you crank out the stories? Because I'm amazed at how fast you guys can get this stuff up.
Yeah, you know what? It's really tough because we have to file one thing at halftime and then one at the buzzer of regulation, and then we have about an hour after the game to go down and get quotes and to send our final copy. So you feel like you're constantly writing or at least giving yourself an idea of where you're going. And then in an NBA game, everything changes so much in the last 5 minutes. You could love the storyline that you were going with, and then all of a sudden the narrative changes completely. So you look up and down constantly and talk to Marcus sitting next to you and say, what did you just see? Because I was typing, and he does the same thing back to me, and we rely a lot on replay and of the players' memories of what happened because, honestly, we're staring at our computers and typing vigorously as much as we are watching the games.
This probably shows how lazy I am, but once I came up with the storyline, I would desperately want nothing to change. You know, at F having to rewrite that entire thing, I'd be hella bitter, even if it meant a Warriors comeback. But we're getting a little far away. You were saying this is a dream job. Was this something you always wanted to do? Were you one of those kids who recognized, look, I want to be a sports writer, and then it actually came together for you?
Yeah, I suppose I started like every kid where I wanted to play sports, and I think it was very obvious to me early that I might be able to be on some teams, but I would never be able to play very much.
Yeah.
I couldn't run, couldn't jump, couldn't do anything very well. But I liked all the games, and I was really fortunate to have parents that didn't say, no, you can be a professional basketball player. They said, no, if you really like hoops, try to figure out a way to stay in the game. And writing came easy to me. And, yeah, so I knew really early on that this is what I wanted to do. And wasn't sure that it was going to happen. You know, there's only 30 or 60 jobs like this in the world. And so I feel really, really lucky to have one.
You know, I'll just openly admit, I hate those people who actually got to achieve their dream. Another reason I'm super bitter of you, man. That's awesome. After 6 years with the War, 11 years with the Chronicle, do you in fact still love it? Or are there parts, just like you were saying, the road trips, the snowy things where it is kind of a pain in the ass, just like any other job?
Yeah, there was a trip last year where we were trying to get from Houston to Oklahoma City, and Oklahoma City had a bunch of fog, and they weren't sure they were going to be able to get us in by game time. And so they said, you know, we think we might be able to fly you to Tulsa. And I'm looking at my watch and saying, in 7 hours, I don't have to worry about the plane. I know I can drive there. And so I drive from Houston to Oklahoma City, show up just in time for the game, turn around, drive back to Houston so I can fly to Memphis without sleeping. And on those kind of days, you wonder what you're doing. But in between that, I got to watch Kevin Durant put up a triple-double. So sitting courtside watching that, it always fascinates me at the end of the night that that's what I get to do. And it makes all the other stuff worth it.
Are you on the plane with these guys during these road trips?
We're not. I would guess probably about a decade ago, a lot of that stuff stopped. It puts both sides in a really tough spot because as a reporter, you probably see stuff that you feel like you owe it to your paper to report, but you're also on the team plane, so you feel like you owe it to them not to report it. So I think it put both sides in a bad spot, and they finally cut it out. I think it was probably around the Gilbert Arenas Crittenton thing is where that stopped most of the time. And a perfect example of something that happened on a plane that people weren't sure what to do with.
Yeah, that's real. I mean, and actually that brings up something I really wanted to talk to you about. Do you become friends with the players? I mean, spending this much time with them, even if you're not traveling, do you develop a relationship with them?
Yeah, relationships for sure. I don't know that friends is acquaintances. You know, the worst thing in the world that you can ask somebody to do is help you move. I'm a military brat, so moving is the worst thing in the world to me. And so I always think about that with the guys. Is this somebody that I would ask to help me move a couch? You know, the worst thing in the world to go downstairs with a couch. And I don't think you ever allow it to get that close. You spend more time with them during the season than you do your family, so there's certainly a relationship, a bond there. But most of the bonds that you try to form are outside of basketball, so that the profession doesn't get in the way, so that you can still report on things as accurately and fairly as you can, and they can still respond to you as accurately and fairly as they can. At least that's the way I try to do it.
That's actually exactly why I was asking, because I would imagine, like, if it was me, I could see it being kind of cool, trying to develop friendships, but then it would make the job way harder. I mean, like, did you went to All-Star game, right, in New Orleans?
I did, yeah, yep.
So I mean, if no specifics or anything like that, but I would imagine if you see somebody, some player, something, getting into something shady, there's got to be one, going to a strip club, whatever the hell it is. There's got to be one side where that's a gold mine for the Chronicle, but another side where you don't want to step on this player's toes, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like we kind of walk those lines all the time, and the really tough ones are where it's not just two-sided. It's where the owner wants something written, and the front office wants something else, and the coach wants something else, and the player wants something else, and your paper wants something else, and you feel like it should be something else. So those are the really, really hard ones, is when you get into those kind of situations. Fortunately, with the Warriors, it's a pretty good group of guys, and so you don't have to worry about that stuff as much. And most of them are real honest. If they think that I took an unfair shot at them, they'll tell me, and I'll try to explain to them what I was doing. And never been a dust up that lasted more than a couple days. We always seem to get to the bottom of it pretty quickly and go on.
What's the biggest drama you've had with a Warrior?
I think the two have been with Bogut, which is kind of interesting because they both kind of started from it. The last year, the thing where he came to us and said that he finally wanted to say that it was a microfracture surgery, and that started a bunch of things with the Warriors, obviously, because they didn't want that information out there. And then this year, something that we hardly covered. Put out only like a little 8-inch thing next to a 24-inch game story was Mark Jackson saying that Bogut might have hurt himself sleeping, and Bogut getting word of it and kind of firing back at him.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because Jackson and Bogut both ended up getting mad about it, but they talked way more about it than we did. And so I always thought that was kind of funny. But both of those lasted a couple of days. They were angry about him for a little bit.
I mean, Jackson came out and tried to lecture you guys, right? I remember that post-game conference where he came out and said, you guys have to accurately quote me or whatever it was.
Right. Right. Yeah. He accused us of spinning his words, and it was an interesting thing. One of the things that really helps us now is that all of this stuff is on video and there's recorders and all, and it's pretty easy to show them the video and say, a direct quote is hard to spin. Here's what you said, and here's what was in the paper.
So that's exactly when Scott and I did it. We played the quote, or we read the quote, and then played him, coming after you guys. But it's hell of easy for us to do that because Mark Jackson couldn't pull us out of a lineup of one, and we're not in front of him. When that happens, when he's doing that to you, do you kind of have to bite your tongue, not raise your hand and be like, Mark, what the hell are you talking about? Here is the direct quote, or do you ever confront him?
I can't think of a time I've ever done that in a group setting of confronted him.
Yeah.
I kind of let him have his say, and in the back of my mind, I'm saying I have no idea what he's talking about, or that I think he makes himself look like a fool. But I'm not going to say anything in front of people. But in a quiet time, I'll tell him, I hope that wasn't directed at me. Here's the way I handled it. And if you think I handled it incorrectly, please let's get to the bottom of it. I think that's what you can always do is just talk to him one-on-one and try to get it. Because in a situation like that where he's got 40 reporters staring back at him, the 40 reporters are going to be on the same side. That's not a fair setting for him. And if the same thing, if a player comes at me in the locker room, I try to take it somewhere else because 15 guys in the locker room are all going to be coming after me, even if I'm right, you know? And so I think just getting it to a one-on-one thing is the way to go.
Smart move, man. Sounds like a veteran move. You learned that the hard way, or just got to figure it out?
No, I think it's just personal skills. I mean, that's the thing you do when your girlfriend's mad, is you don't want to have that conversation in front of her family or her friends, right? You want it to be one-on-one so that you can have an honest conversation. And so I think it probably comes from that more than anything. I've been really lucky that I covered the Warriors and Cal and high school kids that have great stories and think it's really neat to be in the paper. So I haven't been in a bunch of situations where either side has been much trouble, and so I feel really fortunate about that. But you use some things that happen in your life on your job every day, I suppose.
Last personal problem, although first a personal admission, my girlfriend, actually wife, punks the hell out of me when it's just the two of us. So, that doesn't work for me, but it is what it is. The personal question, are you from the Bay?
You got nowhere to go.
That's you are telling me, man. I might play this back to her. Maybe it'll help us out. Are you from the Bay, man? You local?
I'm not, although I claim it now. I've been here 11 years, and so being a military brat, that's way longer than I lived anywhere. So
Sure.
so this is home.
All right.
I claim DC a little bit. I got all 4 years of high school in there, and then I say that I did time in Texas.
I'm from DC, so I'm all about that. I love to hear that.
You have no idea how happy you just made Scott. Unbelievable. Scott, please pay attention that he said he also considers himself from the Bay. The DC thing took a back seat. All right, man. So what I'm going to do is we're going to cover our section called over-unders. And I mentioned this to you on email. I'll admit it openly on the air.
Yeah.
I am a filthy degenerate. I enjoy gambling far more than I care to admit. So we got this ongoing segment, over-unders, just like the bet you could see. Throw out a number, and then we figure out whether or not something's over or under that number. Here's the first one, and it's this. How many MVPs do you think Steph Curry is going to win in his career? I'm going to put the over-under at 0.5, at a half. Why don't you lead us off, Rusty? What do you think?
I struggle with this one because I wanted to include All-Star MVPs to make it really easy because I think it'll be definitely
cheating.
over
That is
0.5
cheating.
there. But I know you're talking about regular season MVPs here.
Yep.
And you know what? Not to desecrate him at all, but I don't think he's going to win one. And it's because he's already 25, which is the same age as Kevin Durant. They're going to be playing each other the whole time. And then you think of Paul George and Kyrie Irving and Derrick Rose, a bunch of these guys who are several years younger than him. I just think it's nothing against him. I just think he's playing against a loaded crop right now.
Yeah, I feel that. Sounds like an under. What about you, Scotty?
I'm going to go over, actually, because I think that he's such an important part of this team and I do think they will have like a lot of great future success. And I think at that point, he's going to get all the credit in the world for that. So I think you'll have a similar Steve Nash type situation where maybe you have another player out there. It'll probably be LeBron or Durant who's actually having a better season. But as far as MVP, the most important person on that team, he'll get the credit for that.
Well, let's see. I'll split the difference. I'm ultimately going to say under, and it kills me to say it. I was going to say over just because it seems like the league is desperate to make this guy a star right now. He's been in a bunch of national spots. They seemingly love him. He's a very likable and approachable guy, and I can see why they would want him to achieve that kind of success. But it was you, Rusty. I never thought about the similarity in age. I didn't realize that Kevin Durant and Steph were both 25. If that's true, and it kills me to say it, I think that he's going to be in his shadow, much the same way a lot of people were in Jordan's shadow. So I'll take the under. Let's move to the next one. Hopefully this one's just as tough, and hopefully you haven't found a way to squirrel out of it like you almost did with the MVP of the All-Star there, big man. This one's for Klay Thompson. How many All-Star appearances do you think Klay has over his career? Over, under, 1.5. What do you think?
Yeah, I had a tough time with this one also, but I ended up deciding that I would go over. I think Kobe Bryant is going to be in the All-Star game the next couple of years only because of the fans.
Yeah.
But I think right now in the Western Conference that Klay Thompson is the second best shooting guard. I don't think you can argue it that it's James Harden and him. And, I think he's got years of that ahead of him. I think he'll be well over 1.5.
I'm going to go with under, actually. I've never been a huge Klay.
I don't like DC anymore.
Yeah. Now I really like you, Rusty. Welcome to the Bay Area, baby.
If this was over/under on Bradley Beal, then I would definitely go over.
Oh, boo! Focus on the question.
I'm gonna go under. I think Klay's overrated.
And what you don't know, Rusty, is that Scott and I have been going back and forth about his Klay hate. At one point, he wanted to trade him for Danny Green. That's not a joke. So you can see some background. I love Klay. I do think he's going to be an all-star, but I'm going to take the under.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under on it. I think that the focus of the team is always going to be Steph, and for as long as D. Lee is probably their second best player, I don't know if the Warriors are ever going to be good enough to receive 3 All-Star votes. And because of that, or 3 All-Stars who are actually in the game, because of that, I see Klay slipping in once, but I don't know if he's going to be there more than that. God, do you really think he's the second best shooting guard in the league?
I know it sounds remarkable. Earlier this year, Coach Jackson said that he was a top 5 shooting guard, and that kind of struck me as odd because I hadn't thought about it. But you go through them now, and Kobe's not playing. Dwayne Wade's older. Paul Pierce, Joe Johnson. I guess if you consider Gordon Hayward a 2 instead of a 3, he's maybe right there with Klay as the number 2 or 3 in the Western Conference. But it's not the old days where it was Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller and Steve Smith and on and on and on, where they had shooting guards. There just aren't a bunch of them right now.
Know that we're going to save this clip, and then from here on out, every time that Scott wants to house Klay, we're just going to play that just over and over again. And I'll remind him that you're a DC guy and you're still taking shots at it. All right.
That's right. But I do love Bradley Beal also. And, and David Lee would love to know that you like him. You know, they went to the same high school and college, so they're good friends.
I mean, right when we were boys, Rusty, just stab me right in the back, man. I thought we were a lot closer than that, man. God. All right, this one goes towards Iguodala. We all know, he's the defensive stopper of the team. One of the reasons we brought him over. How many defensive team selections will Iguodala get as a Warrior? Over, under 1. What do you think?
I go over on this one. I think it's similar to something you guys talked about on the last 2 questions, that Stephen Curry is such a focus of the team. He gets a lot of credit and a lot of blame. So credit when things go well and blame when things don't. Yeah. And I think Iguodala is considered the defender on this team. It's really interesting because Klay Thompson actually guards the best perimeter player on every other team. Sure. And Iguodala is left in a floater role, which he does very well. But I think the coaches think that he's the best defender. In fact, Doc Rivers said last night that Andre Iguodala guards the best perimeter player and will probably start against Chris Paul, which he has done every game. And none of that was true. Iguodala has never guarded Chris Paul. It's always been Klay Thompson. So even a coach who had prepared for that game didn't know. So I think that he'll win all defensive team selections way more than 1. Yeah. And I think it's because the Warriors' team defense is so good and the coaches are blind and think he's the reason.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I'm also going to go over. I think in a lot of ways perception becomes reality in the NBA. And as the Warriors become more of a household name team, and I think they're on their way towards that. They're getting a lot better every single year. If they do reach that next echelon and everybody knows who the hell they are and they start to get known as a defensive team and Iguodala is viewed as their best player, it's, that perception is going to become a reality. He's going to get selected to a bunch of teams. In fact, I probably screwed up this number. I should have kicked it up above 1, but I'll take the over. How about you, Scotty?
I'm going to agree with you guys as much as I love to disagree with Bram and get him riled up. I mean, for all the reasons you guys said, I think that he really has this reputation as being a great defender, and I don't think it's something that is wrong. But also, you can get defensive team goes pretty deep, right? Like, you could make 3rd team all defensive team. Would that count here?
Yeah. Well, I mean, God, between the two of you, you and Rusty coming up with these little caveats to these rules, man, I better think of these questions a little bit tighter. Let's move over one more, and this one's kind of overarching. The team at large and Joe Lacob as its owner. How many championships do the Warriors win under Lacob as the owner? Over, under a half. Rusty, what do you think?
Well, just to keep going with my caveats, this is easy because they've already won one. They won the Summer League championship.
Come on, Rusty. Come on. You're better than that, buddy.
I love it.
No, you know what? When Joe Lacob came in and said that they were going to be the preeminent team in the West Coast and be better than the Lakers and go after championships, I kind of smirked and said, man, this is a hard game. In my head I'm thinking it's harder than you think to turn things around. Yeah. And he's completely proved me wrong. He's changed everything about the franchise. They're headed in the exact correct direction. Yeah. And I think this team will win championships with him as the owner.
Yeah, I heard the S on the back end of that. That's awesome. Scotty, you equally as optimistic?
I do think that they will win a championship under Lacob because I see this team as really growing and still in the early stages of that. Yeah. I really see them like the Pacers, how they have developed by just keeping their core year after year. It does amazing things for you in the NBA when you get to know the type of players that you have and kind of where people are going to be. And I think this team is making the steady progress towards the championship.
I'm going to agree. One, because I am just an unabashed homer, and even if I didn't believe it, I bet you I'd say yes anyways. But also because I think Lacob is a rare combination, man. This dude is rich, so he's got the money and the willingness to spend it. He also is viewing this as a rich man's hobby, which is a weird way to say, but he's not running this to make money. He's running it because he wants a championship team and is willing to do whatever the hell it takes to do it. I think he will go over the luxury tax, and he's also competitive as hell. So if we do run into problems, if we don't quite have the squad now, I believe this dude will sign whoever it is that he needs to get us up and over the hump. So I'll certainly take over on the 0.5. For you, and then this is taking a step back, kind of digressing just as a professional, are you allowed to have a favorite team? Or do you kind of try to keep it neutral? Are you just a Warrior fan? Are you a Wizards fan? Where do you fall on that?
Yeah, the way that it goes now, they used to tell us, all this stuff about code of ethics, and it seems that a lot of that's become slack as more things go toward social networking and all these different deals. So I suppose I could have a favorite team. I'm really jealous of long-suffering Chicago Cubs fans. But I just never lived anywhere long enough to develop that kind of relationship. I'm a huge fan of the games and of the players, but I don't have a team that I root for. Other than a nightly basis, I may be going for some storyline.
So I think you'd be a great test case for this theory that I have and which I've lived by, which is I was born in Detroit, but then grew up in D.C., so I'm a Pistons and a Wizards fan. Bram gives me endless crap for having two teams, but as somebody who's moved around a lot, you can understand that you go to a different spot and then you make friends there, and you don't want to be that guy rooting against the home team.
And let me go ahead and just have my quick answer before you give us your definitive take here, Rusty. My take on that would be like if I had both my wife and my first girlfriend. You have to pick somebody. None of this you see those people walking around in the A's Giants hats with the split in between. I feel like punching those people in the face. You have to pick a team, but we'll turn it to you, man. What do you think? Is it okay to have multiple teams, or should you have a little loyalty?
Yeah, I'm halfway in between you guys. I think you can have multiple teams, but I don't think you can have two Eastern Conference teams. So Detroit and Washington doesn't work. You got to pick one on either side. I think that works, because then you can be rooting for the ultimate thing where they see each other in the finals. That doesn't do any good to see each other in the semifinals.
I don't think you're splitting the difference. I think you and I agree. Scott's wrong, which really is the only thing we're trying to establish here. Two more over-unders for you, man. Let me go back to Steph. How many teams does this guy play for in his career? Over under 0.5. What do you think?
This one was really hard for me because he loves it here now, and how important family is to him, and he's developed his family here. So I could see him playing here forever, and I can't imagine the Warriors ever losing that face of their franchise. But I also think that he loves the game and is going to play for a long time. I think his father played for 17 or 18 years, and he doesn't have a game that needs necessarily quickness. I think he could be a good, serviceable player forever, standing in the corner shooting threes.
Sure.
I think he could play for a long, long time. And at that case, maybe he goes back to Charlotte and holds on, for his last couple of years there. I got to go over here. I just think he's going to play so long that he has to play somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I think he'll be a Warrior for the large majority of his career, but at some point, the Warriors are going to probably say it's been enough. We thank you for your service, and he'll be happy to go to home like Charlotte and kind of assume a Ray Allen type role on the Heat.
I guess I'm going to agree with you guys, but it kills me to say it. It's mostly because of how much love that guy gets when he goes to Charlotte. I mean, you see all those Davidson jerseys. There's no way he's not going to want to spend at least one season playing there. So I guess I'll take over as well, but I like the way that you've both phrased it, that it's not going to be during the real portion of his career. We're not talking in his prime or that he's leaving us in 3 or 4 years. We're talking way down the line when he's more of a novelty, just hitting threes, but he needs a wheelchair to get beyond the line.
And the other thing with him is we all talk about Charlotte because that's such the obvious one, but his father played in so many places that he's integrated in a lot of places. He's loved like that in Toronto. He's loved like that in Milwaukee. So as he gets to the end of his career, there are going to be a lot of places where he could go and feel like he was at home. Cleveland even. So there are a lot of places that I could see him playing out the last couple of years of his career.
I will go ahead and say I don't think he's ever going to play for Burger Milwaukee, but we'll find out. I definitely respect it, having never been there. All right, here's my last one for you, and maybe the most pertinent, at least for this year. How far the Warriors go this year, over, under, first round of the playoffs?
I'm going to say under. I think their matchup. I think their matchups right now are going to be the Clippers or Houston, and I think the Clippers are the much better matchup for them. Houston's just a tough road. I would love to think that you know what, it's fun for a newspaper when the team is good, because then everybody rallies behind it and you get to do really neat stories. So you root for the team overall to do well. We root for all of our teams to do well. That's good for the paper. But I just think the West is so good this year, and they've got themselves in this spot where they're going to be 5th or 6th, which is probably going to link up with the Clippers or Houston. Yeah. And I don't like the chances.
Yeah, it's the matchups are pretty tough. I agree if they do face the Clippers or Houston, but I'm going to say over. And here's why, and I think maybe I'm potentially getting caught up in how they're doing right now, but a team going into the NCAA tournament hot or the playoffs hot, I really like their chances, and if the Warriors stay hot like they have been, then I think they can absolutely beat the Clippers or Houston. Now, unfortunately, Houston and the Clippers are both hot right now too.
Yeah, I'm going to go over, which was predictable, but those matchups scare the hell out of me. I do think we can beat Houston. Really, that's just because I hate smug-faced Chandler Parsons so much that I refuse to admit on air that they present problems for us. I don't think we can get beyond the second round, and it's going to require us to get remarkably hot. We're going to have to see one hell of a performance, both from Steph and from Klay, who incidentally is the second best shooting guard in the league. Scott, I'm not sure if you picked that up a little bit earlier, but I'll go over. But I guess we'll find out. Hey, Rusty, this was huge fun, man. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you lending us some of your time and coming in here and dealing with all our BS. You're the man.
No, for sure. I appreciate you guys reaching out to me and letting me do this. And I got to tell you both before I leave that I got the Warriors finishing the regular season on a 7-game winning streak. So if you like a team that's hot going into the playoffs, I think they're gonna be 7-0 going into the playoffs.
Right when I thought I couldn't like you more. Yeah, we'll jot it down, and I'll mark that in my head as a gambler as well. Again, thanks again, man, and hopefully we'll have you on again in the future. This was phenomenal.
Sure thing. Reach out to me anytime.
Rusty was a great guest, great sport, and all I can say is I really hope we can somehow convince him to come back and come back soon. All right, let's jump into the Portland game. This was a 113-112 win. Incredibly important game. Now, the Warriors were coming off that 2-game frustrating stretch, man. I just kind of briefly alluded to it. That was the Clipper-Cleveland game. Without giving me any details, did you get a chance to watch either of those?
Yes, unfortunately I did, but that's not where I want this focus to be. Yeah. I want to put those behind us. They are what they are, and let's talk Portland, because that was a huge victory, not just a fun basketball game, but important for the overall standings.
Yeah, I mean, Portland is, 2 seeds ahead of them in the overall standings. They are phenomenal at home. Now, they were playing without LaMarcus Aldridge, so we had a slight advantage. That's a guy who gives it to us consistently.
I think they're only 1 seed ahead of us.
Are they at the 7th slot? I'm sorry, the 5th slot?
5th, yeah, because you have, Houston and the Clip have they've been on fire since the All-Star break.
It seems like good knowledge, and I should know better than this, but I'm going to challenge you on that, buddy. Hold on for a second. Why don't we look it up? Probably surprising to nobody out there. I was, in fact, wrong. Scott was, in fact, right again. Portland is in the 5 spot, and they are 1.5 games ahead of us now following the win. So they were 2.5 last night. Either way, remarkably important, and the fact that LaMarcus Aldridge was gone was helpful, but didn't make this an easy win. Portland's a damn tough place to play, and they still have Lillard, Batum, Matthews, a series of other players who make it a pretty tough matchup.
Yeah, they got guys who can. They got guys who can fill in that gap, and you saw Bogut had some trouble down the stretch, so he wasn't able to play as much as he could too. So the Warriors weren't firing at 100% either.
I'm just glad that you didn't bust me out on something else. I thought for sure LaMarcus actually did play, just had another number on or something else random that you could bust my ass out on. Well, it was what it was. Despite the fact that LaMarcus wasn't playing, the Warriors actually came out fairly crappy. They looked real sluggish early on, could not hit a shot whatsoever. really, all in all, was a disappointing beginning. In fact, found themselves down 18 points to start the game and going into the second quarter, I believe.
After you have two losses like the Cavs and the Clippers, I was expecting them to come out much more. And they had a team meeting over the weekend to talk about it. It was kind of like they were in full crisis mode. And you come out and respond like that. It was real worrisome.
Yeah, well, luckily, they did, in fact, get their shit together. Draymond played pretty well. Harrison Barnes contributed enough to kind of keep them within shouting distance. And then came the second half where the Splash Brothers just dominated.
Oh, that was an incredible performance. I don't often try to rope my wife into watching any of these games, but you could tell kind of in that end of the third quarter, fourth quarter that Curry was starting to feel it. And I called her over. I was like, this is about to be something special. Even a non-basketball fan will enjoy what's about to go down.
Did she, or did she just immediately leave the room like my wife would?
I got her to watch one replay.
How'd that go? Was she amazed or like fairly annoyed?
It was that. You remember that one Curry move where he basically faked like he was about to go around a screen and then put it back behind his back, completely lost Wes Matthews, and then hit the three. I showed her that play, and I don't think she had the same appreciation I did.
By same appreciation, you mean she couldn't care at all, and was kind of upset that you brought her into the room? I've met your wife, and I'm positive that's the exact reaction she probably had, but we don't have to get too deep into that. What you are teasing is just how well those two played. I mentioned they didn't play very well in the first half. They ended up with 64 points collectively. Let's take them in turn, man. Steph, dominant. Guy had 28 of his 37 in the second half, and he kept screaming at some dude who was sitting in the front row right after that play you were talking about. I think it was about 5 minutes left in the fourth. He crosses up Matthews, just like you said. He nails a three, just like you said. Then he turns around, puts his hands on his knees, and just screams at this dude in the front. I don't know if that guy had been talking shit. I don't know if it was like that Reggie Miller kind of thing at the Garden where he's coming after Spike Lee, but whatever it was, whatever that guy said worked, and I'd like to personally thank that guy because apparently he lit a fire into the best shooter in the NBA.
Oh, we need to bring that guy to every single game. Make him like, I don't know if you remember the heckler from back in the days of the Washington Bullets.
Sure.
This guy would just sit behind the opposing team's bench and just scream at him. And he was such an effective heckler, actually, that at one of the Rock and Jock games on MTV.
Let's just pause and congratulate you for somehow referencing Rock and Jock. Phenomenal. Go ahead.
They instituted a penalty box like you would in hockey, and they put the heckler in it. And so if you got a penalty in the basketball game, you had to go sit with the heckler, and he would just yell at you for 2 minutes.
Well, I don't think the guy at the Portland game has any background with MTV or any of their completely ridiculous Rock and Jock series. But if they had known about him, I'm sure he would have ended up in their ridiculous basketball penalty box as well.
Curry still needs to learn how to celebrate better.
Here we go.
It's still so awkward when he does it.
I'll give you the other side of that coin.
Hands on the knees, but it's weird.
He obviously believes in himself so much more now. He is not the same player who is deferring to people like Jarrett Jack for the last shot. He wanted the ball in his hands. He scored with the ball in his hands, and he wanted to shove it down that dude's throat, and effectively did it. I think we have a real deal killer on our hands who's only going to get better and better as his career continues.
Definitely, and he's also really able to choose when to take the shot and when to distribute it. Yeah. He had a couple drives towards the end where everybody collapsed on him, and just like you saw Jordan in the finals, had the ability to trust his teammates, dish it to them, they were wide open, and in this case, Klay came through.
Have you ever had anybody talk to you from the crowd?
I had one time in a high school game, they started chanting, Scotty.
At home or on the road?
On the road.
How'd you do?
Oh, I did terribly. Yeah. I can barely shoot a free throw with other people in the gym and not feel self-conscious about it. So when they started calling me out by name, oh man, it was a disaster.
I can immediately associate with that. Two quick stories, one you already know. I was playing at Fremont in Oakland, had a good first quarter, and they started chanting Opie. Although now that I think about it, maybe they were chanting Scotty, and I just misheard it. Had a terrible rest of the game, and then another game, I think it was played before. This one was at McClymonds. Started off, 4 or 6 points in the first quarter, enough to catch someone's attention, and someone starts screaming, hey, number 3, you're garbage. Hey, number 3, you'll never hit another shot. And I hit a 3, and I remember making eye contact with the guy. Like, this was going to be my big hands on the knees, screaming moment. And right as I make eye contact, he makes eye contact right back and says, I will you up, white boy. I did not hit another shot for the rest of the game. I believed him. I think he would have screwed me up pretty badly, and I didn't handle the pressure so well. So good for you, Steph. Apparently you're far better at taking crap than neither Scotty or I.
Well, now I know how to get in your head.
I'm about to start chanting Scotty right now and see you melt.
Well, I think that what Curry has developed is the ability to get fired up off the crowd, because I don't remember if you go back to the first three-point shooting contest that Curry was in.
That he lost.
Yeah, and Pierce was talking a lot of crap, and I think it did get in his head. Yeah. And I think now, and I think it's one reason why you and I don't do well with it. We're just not exposed to it as much. But now, you're a couple seasons in, you figured out how to deal with the crowd and actually react in a very positive way.
It's too bad we didn't have an opportunity to play Paul Pierce in a three-point contest. We would have been perfectly fine. I'll tell you what Steph has not developed. He has not developed a respect from the refs. One of the things that really caught my eye, this guy, Steph, is now an anointed franchise player. He was an all-star, a starting all-star, and yet and still he can't get a call at the end of the game. He is called for an offensive foul with, about 2 minutes left against Robin Lopez, and maybe the worst call I have ever seen in my life. I don't understand.
That is not an exaggeration.
What happened on that? How could that have happened on that? How did they side with Robin Lopez in that situation?
That was bizarre. Steph was clearly still and planted, and Lopez just runs right into him. There was none of that Kevin Garnett type of screen where you kind of stick your butt out at the end or extend an elbow. Nothing like that.
Well, meanwhile, Robin Lopez is about, 2 feet taller than him, 80 pounds heavier, and a gigantic douche loser who has never done anything in the game. Why we would somehow focus on him, I'm not sure, but I don't want to get caught in the malaise of a terrible call. Instead, we should offer congratulations to Steph. And just like we said, it wasn't just him, man. Klay also played a phenomenal game.
And you know why Klay played great is because he finally shaved that goatee.
It's possible. I don't know. Again,
no, that's why. That was disgusting.
I'm just happy you're making hair takes, Scotty. It's about time you really embraced the power of a hair take. Nicely done by you. And I'm going to say this, and I feel good about it. I think this may have been Klay's best game as a Warrior. It wasn't just because he scored. It's the way he scored. He was taking it to the rack. He didn't just rely on his outside jump shot. Played phenomenal D. And what made this even more impressive is that it was coming off his first missed game as a Warrior. He didn't play in the Cleveland game because he was mourning the loss of his grandfather. It required him to go to the Bahamas, I believe, and because of that, he actually had to take 3 flights all the way from the Bahamas back to Portland and didn't get into Portland until 2 a.m. So it was really impressive how he somehow got back up on the horse and had the performance that we saw.
Is the same guy who was in charge of Jermaine O'Neal's passport the person booking Klay Thompson's travel?
I think we know that's not true because Klay would still be in the Bahamas right now and never be able to get back into the United States.
3 trips, really? Like after the game, Rick Bucher called it how you came back from your cross-planet trip.
Yeah. Incidentally, and I don't mean facially speaking, but if you look at just the body structure of Rick Bucher and the size of his head, he reminds me of Frankenstein every single time he's in the center of the screen. That might not make sense now, but wait until the next game. Imagine him going, and you'll think Frankenstein for sure. The most impressive portion of Klay's very impressive game was a 3-play stretch with about a minute left. First, Lillard gets by him. He's been guarding him all night and is an amazing talent. Klay not only recovers, but gets up and tosses Lillard, which was awesome. Starts up a fast break. Off they go to the other side, and Klay immediately fields the ball and fires up a fast break 3 and nails it. If that wasn't enough, Portland gets the ball back, goes to the other side. Lillard still apparently pissed off that he had his shot blocked. Just shits all over Klay. A pretty nasty dunk. The type of dunk where if it happened to me, I'd want to quit or at least cry for a while.
Or if I was a Portland fan and I was at that game, I would have probably been catapulted out of my seat just being like, oh my God, I would have jumped just right out of it.
Well, and the ball goes the other side. Steph has a turnover, and now Klay has all the reason to be depressed, to let this game ultimately collapse around him. Instead, after Portland scores on the other side, they come back, and Klay hits yet another three-pointer, just an ice-in-the-veins type of shot that all but cemented the game. An incredibly important and impressive series of plays from a very young player.
What also impressed me was the fact that he missed a lot of threes, actually. So he has this ability to miss threes and not let it affect him at all.
He also has an ability to give maybe the most boring post-game interview. Here's Klay talking about how he had to travel and how he hit that last shot.
Speechless, especially the way we won. We were down and out for a second there in the third quarter. We almost got to 20, and it just shows the resiliency of this team. And selfishness. Steph did his thing, of course. I got to credit to HB on the last pass he gave me, and our defensive effort, especially in the second half. Emotionally a little drained. It's been a long weekend. Physically, I felt great, though. Those long flights, just got to hydrate, drink a lot of water. I honestly felt fresh when I stepped on the court. You might not believe me, but I warmed up before the game. I felt good.
It's an idea of your travel schedule just to get here. 3 flights?
Yeah, 3 flights, but I slept on most of them. It wasn't like a red eye or anything, so it wasn't that bad.
What time did you finally get in this morning?
Yeah, like 2. I got a solid 7 hours of sleep, so that's all I need. Take a nap. I'm good to go.
I love that they gave him 3 opportunities to say that the travel schedule screwed him up. Wasn't it hard? Weren't you drained? This fool says, no, all I had to do was hydrate and take a nap, and I was completely fine.
He was big on the hydration. He said the same thing to Rick Bucher.
Yeah. Well, just in case we didn't want to take Klay's super boring take on how well he did, let's go ahead and listen to Steph put it in better perspective.
Steph Curry has put on the headset. Steph, I believe you can hear me. Is that true?
Yes, sir. I got you.
How about that? What a finish.
Oh, man. Whew. Kind of tired. That was definitely dramatic. We fought hard. We didn't like the way we played in the first half. And even in the second half, when they were hitting some tough threes and built, a 16, 17-point lead, we didn't panic and made big plays. Klay Thompson, I know he's had a rough week, and for him to be able to come in and knock down those big shots for us down the stretch was huge. Defensively, getting that last stop, it was a big win for us.
How big was this win, you think, for Klay? That just, his grandfather dies. He has to fly back to the Bahamas for the funeral. Somehow gets his way up here. That's about as far as you can go, to get to Portland. And, wow, what a fourth quarter he had. He had 15 as well as you.
This is the kind of character he is. I know he was dealing with a lot off the court, but for him to compartmentalize that for a second, come out here, defend at a high level, and like you said, make some huge plays down the stretch. He deserved this win, and we wanted to get it for him. So, huge night, and I'm sure it's really emotional for him.
I cannot overestimate how much this game, I think, ultimately means. It helps him redeem both the Cliver and the Cleveland loss, but also it shows that when the backcourt plays like this, when the Splash Brothers are, in fact, the Splash Brothers, I believe the Warriors can beat anyone, anywhere. Now, you can't count on that. It's not going to happen every single time, but it's certainly a possibility, and it makes us so dangerous in the playoffs.
Absolutely. Definitely. When they're on fire, it's hard because you have to pay so much attention to Steph that Klay's going to get open shots, and if he's hitting 2, you're screwed.
Right. Last couple parting shots on this game for me. One, D. Lee sat a real large portion of it. Sat almost 15 straight minutes because Jackson was going with Draymond Green. I was happy to see it and was even happier to see that D. Lee took it completely fine. Didn't seem upset by it, and in fact had a couple of really big plays down the stretch showing that it didn't affect his psyche. Second thing is, Bogut may have gotten hurt in this one. He left for a minute with the left ankle strain, went to the back, came back out. They retaped it. He was out there for the final play. In fact, Portland had a desperation 3 that didn't come up remotely close. But Bogut looked a little hobbled even though he came back out. So hopefully this isn't something that's going to be long term.
And he only came back out to rebound for the free throw, and which he didn't actually accomplish because Portland missed the free throw and got the offensive rebound.
Right, exactly.
But
right.
So he wasn't really. I don't think if they had been up or even down by a significant amount, he wouldn't have come back in. It was really just a rebound. So this is something to keep our eye on.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out. Thanks for kicking it, you guys. Huge fun, the same way it is every single week. A quick quote from me before we let you guys get out of here. Again, this is coming from my boy Charles Barkley. Quote, I always laugh when people ask me about rebounding techniques. I've got a technique. It's called just go get the damn ball. All right, please remember that we can be found on Twitter at Warriors Huddle. Our email is warriorshuddle@gmail.com. Our website is warriorsworld.net. And you can find us on iTunes as well as a bunch of other podcasting services where we'd really appreciate if you'd subscribe to us and rate us. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.
He's heating up, he's on fire. His shit's hot, go hose it down. You're not on my level, bro, sit down. I rap for the Bay and I hose it down. Listen, I go hose it down. You're not on my level, bro, sit down. I rap for the Bay and I hose it down. Listen, it ain't no one new in my crew.
Good.